You're in for another great episode of the podcast, but first, do me a favor and click that subscribe button below, and let's dive in. Laura Long, back on the show.
Of course. I would have it no other way. I was, pitching a 10 outside your office for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, you've been hounding me to get on the show. You're like those people that go to New York City to get on the Today Show and like stand outside just to meet Al Roker, like kind of. And you're jumping up and down in the back, like behind the glass. That's like you for my podcast.
So excited. Like, John, please love me. Please.
You have to get up at like 4:30 in the morning and go down there and freeze your ass off. But you're
so
like, it was worth it. I saw Al from 90 feet away. And I'm like, that sounds great, dude.
Yeah. I drove 14 hours.
Yeah.
One way.
I made a handmade sign. And I'm
with a sombrero on it,
Yeah. One of the production assistants said that he was going to give it to Al for me.
Fucking liar.
You do you. You do you.
Well, thanks for having me on again.
You're welcome for having you on again. Here's a warning. Laura and I tend to curse. I don't curse with every guest. I feel it out because some people are more boring. They live cleaner lifestyles than you. Yeah.
Some people are just better than me.
They're more precious. Not that you're not precious. You're just
precious in a very different way.
Yeah.
I'm precious in like the way that like you're swimming in the ocean and you see that jellyfish and you're like, it looks soft. It looks squishy. Will it kill me?
I'm gonna let that one linger for a second. I feel. All right,
what are we talking about, John? We're doing that thing again where we just go from one thing to the other.
Talking about what animal are you? What sea creature are you? I feel like you've thought about that before because comparing yourself to jellyfish isn't something you just do on live TV, on a live podcast.
I was thinking of like my soft, squishy middle, but then like I will come out and it hurts.
Yeah.
However, fish do that. I guess they just wrap their crazy tentacles around you or something.
They just bump up against you, and that's all they have to do, and it hurts so badly. Have you never been stung by a jellyfish?
I mean, yeah, but like the kind where it's like an hour later, you're like, ow, that kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
Not like the in the hospital kind.
I remember getting stung when I was a kid, and some dude on the beach had like a little spray bottle of something, and it was like a household.
Urine. I heard if you pee on it goes away.
I don't think it was urine, but he was a really nice guy. He was.
So what does that have to do? I mean, it still could be a spray bottle of urine. Doesn't it have like the antidote or whatever? I don't know.
It had a lemon smell to it, so if it was urine, it was very.
I am not a marine biologist.
Oh, really? Wow. I'm shocked. I'm so glad we had you on today to clear that up.
You ass.
I'm a jellyfish, and I'm not a marine biologist. I know you guys think I am. I know I really come across as the marine biologist type.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I also had someone was telling me the other day that they were thinking about like a late in life switch to becoming a marine biologist. And I feel like every child wants to be that at some point. Like, when you're like third grade and you have to be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'm either a veterinarian,
teacher, a cop, so I could shoot people. I've heard that. A fireman. I don't really know what the deal is there. Dane Cook used to say, like, I just wanted to spray shit with a hose. That's why I wanted to be a fireman.
That narrows it down a bit. Yeah, I wanted to be a therapist, which was weird. And people were like, let's keep an eye on him. That's not normal. He wants to sit and help people, listen to people. Not normal.
I think I wanted to be a therapist since I was like 11 or 12.
That's pretty young.
That's pretty young, right? Yeah. Introspective, like writing love notes and poems and shit. Mm-hmm. I had all of the feels. Now I feel kind of burned out of feelings. Just kidding. Not really. Oh, God.
We can talk about that.
We'll talk about that offline.
Not having feelings is a feeling too.
Ooh, that's existential as shit.
Mm-hmm. People say, I feel nothing. Anyway, welcome to the show.
On that note, hey, everybody.
How have you been? I haven't seen you in forever, and I want to know what you've been up to.
Yeah, I've been super busy. I'm in this fancy new office, which looks like it was put together in like an hour, and it kind of was, but the
I
whole
don't think so.
planning process.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, I didn't do it myself. I wish I could take credit for this, but
That's
I
baller.
can't. Yeah, so I've been moving. I opened a brand new practice in my town from the ground up. So this week is our first week seeing clients here. It's awesome.
How does it feel?
A little bit surreal, to be
Mhm.
honest. It's my last office was nice, like especially I think there's a huge spectrum of therapist offices, right? Like you have my first office, which was like hodgepodged Craigslist furniture, plaid carpet, uh, four drawer metal file cabinet, because like that's cool. Um, so like to go from that to like the next office to the next one to the next one, and then to be here, I'm like this is a bit insane to me in the best way possible. But yeah, I feel it's distracting. Like I'm looking at my clients and I'm
To be
like,
in such a nice office.
yeah, it is a little bit
So
distracting, but I
I'm
really like it. I like my clients love it too, and that's ultimately why I did it. I mean, it's a little bit for me. The window's for me, but everything else is for them.
looks amazing. So I am gonna put this on YouTube. Um,
Good to
uh,
know that now. Thanks,
that's my
John.
plan.
Glad I knew that going into this.
Yeah. Um, and so for those who are watching on YouTube, you can see Laura's fancy ceilings. And I really feel like this is a mark of when you know you've made it. When you have fancy,
Yeah, when you have coffered ceilings and
is
shit,
that what that's called?
yeah, coffereds.
Okay.
Lots of trim. We were talking before we started recording though, how I know I've made it, right? Is the lobby,
Yeah.
which I don't know if I'm allowed to go out there since someone's in session. I can't really talk much, but
We could just, silently go out there and I could
I could
narrate
give
what we're
you a
seeing.
tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can narrate it since I can't really say much.
I can do it like Steve Irwin or something, like in the wild.
And there she goes, walking down the hallway.
People listening to audio only are like, what a waste of my time.
Oh, you
Okay,
can't
so
hear
the
the
lobby
jazz,
looks
can you?
amazing. There's light jazz playing.
Can you hear that?
There it is. It's coming through.
Yeah, a little bit of jazz.
Beverage
Custom drink
selection.
station. Little Keurig. Some fancy ass drinks
That's right.
right there.
Baby bottles of water. We've got Starbucks Frappuccino, which are at least $3.49 a piece. I know that for sure. So I'm doing the math. There's about 6 of them in there.
There's LaCroix,
There's
nice
LaCroix.
granite counter. Got some, let's see, some art. The walls. It's nice. It's nice. It's small, but there's only 3 of us in here, so no big deal.
It looks so clean.
It is
It's
so
like
clean.
overwhelmingly clean.
Yeah, I could show you our group room, but it's we haven't had it decorated yet. But you can at least see like there's our fancy couches in there, but
It's a
we
nice
haven't put
group
anything
room.
on the walls yet.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's not totally ready. But
Does it smell new?
oh my God, it smells so good. Let me show you our bathroom because we designed our bathroom with the gentleman in mind. So if you're sitting on the toilet, you get to see our nice little setup, right?
Mm-hmm. The little
But
rack with
yeah,
accessories,
but
accoutrements.
if you're a man, we got you a piece of art
There
above
you
the.
go.
It's like
We
watery.
appreciate you. It's a nice little watercolor, kind of abstract, kind of hipster. It's kind of up
A little
my
bit,
alley.
a little bit. And then our hallway has like, antique ceiling tiles, and there's original prints of Greenville, which is where I live. So there's a Liberty Bridge, there's a
I want
famous
this to be my
hotel.
house. I want
So
to
we made
live
it like
there.
super, super fancy. Anyway, so there's the quick tour
Love it.
of my new office.
First tour of an office ever on this podcast. How do you? What can I ask you about this? You feel different when you're in a nice space.
Oh my gosh.
Talk
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. Well, my disclaimer is that I didn't start here, right? Like I said a few minutes
Mm-hmm.
ago, my first office was, I mean, at the time it was awesome because it was an office. Like I could have been in a fucking tent and I would have been happy, right? So we all have to start somewhere. So I'm kind of balancing like wanting to show therapists that you can have this too. I used therapy money to buy all this. I didn't use
Mm-hmm.
coaching money. Like this wasn't my my side hustle doing this. This was me saving up for 6 months to do it. So I want therapists to know that they can have something like this. They can have something really nice. And I also want them to know that that's not necessarily where you start.
No doubt.
So it's tricky because I do want them to see that you can have nice things without it just coming across as like, look how fucking awesome I am. I have a nice office, because I think we can all have a nice office. It's just not something that we typically are going to start with, unless you're starting with like a nice capital or something. I would not take out a loan for something like this.
Yeah, I want to second that, because, well, I think you can. I think we're one of the few businesses that will not take out a loan typically to start a business. I know a handful of therapists who have done it, and we've worked with some, but I think it can go okay if you're really careful about it, you know, but I think starting your business from a deficit is a tricky thing. I think it changes the tone and the feel of your business. And from day one, you feel like, oh crap, I've got to
I better take on this client, even though they're a little bit outside of my scope, because I need to pay the bills and my credit card. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. It's tricky. So I'd much rather a therapist start their practice and then kind of bootstrap the growth of it, you know, set aside some money a little bit at a time and then upgrade. And then after a few years, you can upgrade again and again. So yeah, I want therapists to know that I didn't start here. You know, I've been in private practice for 5 years, and I've been in 4 offices. So yeah, I basically have moved almost every single year.
Yeah. Well, it's about growing proportional to your practice.
Absolutely.
That's critical. And I think a lot of therapists struggle with that. They either try to grow too fast, or they take on a gigantic, beautiful office suite, and then they've got to pay for that deficit or that debt, or fill it with clinicians or what have you. And that's an anxious place to operate from. Totally.
So that didn't answer your immediate question, which I don't even remember what it was.
How does it feel to be in this space? Talk about a therapist question.
Yeah. Fuck. How does it make me feel? It is a bit surreal. I was telling you before we started recording, you know, I find myself getting a little bit distracted because this office is really nice. And I love having clients who come in and can tell that I put a lot of thought into them. Like, even, you can't see it right now, I guess I can turn it around, but I even got this clock that, you know, so the sofa's right there. So when you're in the sofa, you don't really see a whole lot. Like, I didn't want them to be distracted. However, the clock that I got has, can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
It's got moving gears in it. So it's kind of, it's therapeutic in its own way. It's like watching
hypnotic.
Fish in a fish tank. So I really wanted my clients to know that I made this for them too.
That's cool.
And that's a cool feeling for them to come in and be like, I actually see them physically sink into the sofa, and they're just like, oh.
Yeah, this feels like a nice space.
Yeah.
It feels like a nice place to be. A nice place to be when I'm talking about the most
horrible
difficult parts
shit
of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really important to me and my business partner, who I actually went in with a partner on this whole ordeal, which we can talk about that too and what that process has been like.
Sure.
But that was both of our visions for this space, is that because we both only see adults and some adolescents, we really wanted it to show, like, we wanted to demonstrate that we were thinking of them in this whole thing. So.
It's one of many ways to convey your brand. I think a lot of people don't take it seriously enough, but even looking at like the image behind you and the way you've decorated things is part of your brand, right? Like, if I just looked at your office, I could get a pretty good feel for kind of who you work with, like what your vibe is, what kind of client might be right for you.
And that was totally, that was my, that was all my designer too. So I didn't do all this myself. I did hire out. And we had a lot of discussions about like my taste and my style and the kinds of clients I work with. You know, it was important for her to know that I see couples, and most of my couples are heterosexual. And so I have, I wanted it to be like elegant for the women, but I also wanted there to be some like more rustic parts for the men too. And I do see a lot of women, but I also, you know, I want guys to come in here and not just feel like it's a girly office. So same thing, like if you work with kids, your office will most likely not look like this. Like your kids would not really appreciate coming to like a play therapy office that's this like adulty. Like I have side tables with glass on them. You wouldn't do that
or
for
an
a kid.
adult in a play therapy office that's completely covered with toys and sand and
Yeah, that's not relaxing. So designing your office with your ideal clients in mind is so important.
yeah.
And I think sometimes it's overlooked.
There's an office in the suite in our suite that he works with mostly adults, but he sees some kids, and he's also very aesthetically inclined. So he has amazing taste. He furnished like the lobby and everything, amazing original art all over the place. But then for his play therapy stuff, he has a really nice like floor to ceiling cabinet where all that stuff stays, and it's very nice. Like, and you open it up because it's like all these colorful toys, and if they were just out, it looks kind of ridiculous. But that's kind of a nice way, because also you don't want the adults to feel like that they're in a kid's office. So there's ways to do it, especially I think for play therapy in particular. It's one of those few therapies that requires a lot of stuff, a lot of gear. And you got to think about how you're creating that experience for your clients.
Yeah, agreed. So it feels great, and I like knowing that my clients know that I care, and that it's almost like I don't know how, this kind of sounds weird, but I thought of it as like my giving back to them in a way, because, the money that I invested is the money that my clients paid me. So,
totally.
So like me showing appreciation for them and the work that they do in here, that's how I did it. I guess that's how I conceptualized it.
How do you make sense of like, a lot of therapists will be like, well, I know I've got to spend money to make money. But we never really talk about what that means, or how much money do you spend, or, and then we've got the profit first system, which is like pay yourself first, and then the rest is your expenses. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at it in terms of your actual bookkeeping. How would you maybe like help a therapist who is trying to figure out, how do I give back, or how much do I give back, to my practice, to myself, for trainings, whatever it might be?
So I do the profit first model. I know that everyone's talking about that. And I think there's a few other ones, like you need a budget is one I've heard good things about.
Yep.
I've also heard of people blending those two concepts. I like profit first because I also like Dave Ramsey, and I feel like the two they're pretty complementary. So what I did was I added a fund, because I think in profit first, how does he say it? Like, when in doubt, add an account.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, is I started a new practice fund about 6 months ago. And then I just kind of looked at my numbers and what I could afford to like squeeze from each account that I currently had. So
without taking from your actual profit, from your net profit, your
correct.
paycheck.
Yeah. So this was not from my profit. My profit, I'm trying to think of like the percentages. I lowered the percentage of profit slightly, but I still kept it there. And any money that's in profit is supposed to be fun. Like, it's not meant to be put back into your business. I think that's like a misconception about the whole profit account. Like, do I use my profit account to pay for trainings or new furniture? The answer is no. Profit is supposed to be like your reward for working in the business. So I just created a separate account or a separate fund, and I looked at all my different percentages and thought about how I could maybe take a little bit from this percentage for a time. So I spent less money on things like trainings. Let's see, my overhead, I tried to like squeeze as much as I could out, getting rid of things that maybe weren't necessary. An EHR was not one of those, by the way. That's totally necessary. And I increased my rate as well. So that also meant that I was immediately making more per session. And so any extra that I was already making, I set aside as well. So
I think that Dave Ramsey would describe it like it's like the reverse car payment method, right? So
totally.
Rather than buying a car today and then paying it off for the next 48 months, it's kind of like start that fund now, pay yourself, or put into a savings account the $400 or whatever for the next 48 months. Think about how good it feels to show up and pay for something cash, and to not take on debt for a big purchase like new office furniture or a car or whatever it might be. So I feel like that's a great way to approach things, and not taking on more debt for your business or your personal life for that matter.
Yeah. I think what Dave Ramsey says in terms of like borrowing money, he says like Thanksgiving dinner tastes a lot better when you don't owe anyone at the table money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that same way about my office. So like if I took out a loan for every individual piece or all of it, just took out like a big fat loan from the bank, like this wouldn't feel as sweet, because I would know that I don't own it, and I'm still paying for it. which may lead me to take on clients that are not good fit so that I can pay for the shit that I just bought that I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's the principles are simple, but they're profound. And if you don't listen to Dave Ramsey, I would check him out. I really like following along, and his book Total Money Makeover was fantastic for me, both in terms of personal finances, but and also business. There's clear parallels there, but basically it's pay yourself first, and that's profit first, and don't take on debt. And that basically credit cards are the most aggressively marketed product in the United States. So credit card companies are not on your side. They're coming at you to get you to spend more money because they will make more money off of your debt. So anyway, this is not a finance show, so obviously it's not legal advice, but it's just, I
did plan, I didn't like decide on a whim one day to do this and then just like fly by the seat of my pants. I mean, I did have an account for a while, and I honestly I wasn't planning to actually move as soon as I did, but I knew that eventually I did want to move. So I started the fund, and then within that 6-month period, everything kind of fell into place. So that was a little unique to my situation. But I still had the 6 months to like plan it, which is cool. And the space I ended up moving into wasn't as expensive as I feared, like the whole process of moving would be. So that helped too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very cool. What else?
I wish there were people here, like, posting comments or whatever, questions that they had.
I know. We did a little Facebook Live last evening, and that was, it's fun to get that instant feedback or people asking questions, because then you really know what people want to hear about. Also, I have to say, after we ended the live and then I uploaded it, it slowed our voices down by about like 0.5.
We sounded like this. I sounded like I had the worst hangover man voice ever.
You sounded intense. You sound like a WWE wrestler, like a female WWE wrestler with like a little bit of testosterone.
Yeah.
I sounded even scarier, obviously, because my voice is already deep and it got deeper. And now,
so I guess we can talk about, I've had a lot of people ask me questions about like the design aspect.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The process of hiring a designer and what that looked like and what things did she do versus what I did. I can only speak to, this is like my first and only experience ever with a designer, so I can only really speak to that. And I don't know what parts are maybe more like conventional, like every designer does X, Y, and Z versus what mine chose to do. But I do have a lot of questions from people being like, okay, so how did that work?
Yeah. And I'm sure there's 100 ways to do it, right? In terms of having the designer do everything versus hiring them more like a consultant to help you choose the items. But how did you go about it?
And everything in between too. So I did get a recommendation from our good friend Allison Pereira, and because she's local to me. So I remember calling the designer, and I felt a little scared because in my mind at the time, a designer is like an attorney. Like they get some crazy retainer, and then they spend all of their money at Pottery Barn.
Yeah, I have no idea how they're paid, actually. It's a good point as well.
So I had no idea. So I called her, and I basically was like, I'm probably going to be like your smallest job ever because my house is quite small. Like, I don't know if you're taking on small. So I remember having I was a bit intimidated when I called her. But the way that she worked, I don't know about all designers, but she charges an hourly rate for the act of shopping for you. And then there's also a budget for like the actual things she buys. So there's kind of two numbers that you're playing with. It's like, how much do I have to spend on things like books or candles or whatever? And then how much do I want to spend on you for actually doing the thing? So there are two numbers that we had to like go back and forth and figure out what was going to work for me with my budget, and also what was going to allow her enough time to buy the things. So that was cool to know that like I had a cap, right? It wasn't just like nilly-willy. She's just going to go out and spend thousands and thousands of dollars without me even realizing it. Like she knew like this was kind of my cap, and I could go a little bit over, but that was pretty much where I wanted to be in terms of like the stuff and her. And then at the time I had already bought my furniture. So, the sofa you see right now is a loaner, but the one that's coming looks pretty similar. And then I'd already bought my therapy chair, which I don't know if you can see, but it was my splurge item.
It's an important item.
I don't know if you can tell, but it's
nice.
blue leather.
It's kind of, yeah, it's a blue leather chair with the little stud things on it.
Nail
What are they
head.
called? Nail heads.
Super comfy, and it's little, which I like because a lot of armchairs are like huge and beefy, and I wanted something that kind of hugged me, like when you're an adult trying to get into a kid's chair.
It's very specific.
Like, oh man, this is kind of tight on the hips.
Your designer was probably like, "Yep, I know exactly the chair." She's like, "I'm actually going to get you a child's chair." I think
pretty much.
It'd be great.
So I bought the big pieces. You can have a designer do all that for you. I think that probably significantly adds to the cost for both the items and for the person, because it's a very subjective personal thing, like the chair you sit in. So that probably saved me money on her because she didn't have to buy that stuff. And then we created a Pinterest board together, which was really fun. And so she would just post things as she saw them when she was shopping. And that's how she got a good idea for my taste and what I liked. I didn't even know what my taste or style was, to be honest. And so she'd post something and I'd be like, I don't know, those kind of look like tire rims. Like, I'm not a huge fan of that. And then so she'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go away from that and go more towards this other style or whatever. So that was really cool because every day I'd check the Pinterest board and there may be like a new thing on there that I got to see. And when she would pin something and I liked it, she would actually go buy it. So it wasn't like, do you like this general idea of something? It's like, no, do you like this marble bird? Because I'm going to go buy it.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's how that worked. And I guess with any designer, you can have them do as much or as little as you want. So I didn't need her to buy furniture. I didn't need her to tell me the layout because I'm pretty limited. I don't know, for those who are not watching, my office is kind of small.
Yeah.
But I told her that I suck at the little things, like setting up this little like 2-shelf system that those of you watching can
Just
see,
little
like
trinkets.
Yeah, little trinkets on it.
Succulents.
Oh, the succulents. I told her I suck at that kind of stuff, and that was her favorite thing to do. So we worked out really well.
Cool. What a fun process. It's kind of indulgent. I mean, it's just kind of like someone catering to you and really like digging into your aesthetic. It's really neat.
And when they get it, that was really cool too. I looked at her at one point and I was like, you are just like, you get, like, you know, I didn't even know my style and somehow she did it. Like, she knew it. I guess that's,
well,
you know,
she does
she's a
this all
designer.
day. Yeah, she
does.
And she's also taking something abstract. So people go, well, I kind of like blue, but I also like really bright colors. And, you know, people are kind of impossible in the way that they like describe their vision. And so she takes that vision, takes your words and starts to put together a visual. It's really neat.
I think what I told her, to be honest, I think what I told her was, I want my office to feel like comfortable and cozy, but I want my clients to also know that like I spent some money on them. Yeah. So she goes, so you mean like cozy with a little bit of bougie? And I was like, cozy. Yeah. A little bit of bougie. Yeah. Not so much that you don't want to touch anything, but yeah, so high end is what I was basically.
I think she nailed it, huh?
Bougie. Yeah.
How cool.
I think so. Those were some of the major questions that I've gotten so far from folks about like, I want you all to also know that hiring a designer can be affordable. Like, it's something you can absolutely do. Maybe not for your very first office if you're starting with like literally a shoestring budget. But it can be as expensive as you want it to be. I guess that's just like designing anything, right? But you could find someone who's maybe new in the design space, or maybe they're still a student if you like live in an urban area that has a design school in it. People who are just getting their feet wet in it, and maybe they'll cut you a deal so that you can give them a testimonial at the end. They can take pictures later and put it on their website. So there's a lot of different ways to go about doing it if design and style is not really your thing. So it can be affordable. Cool.
Yeah. Man, I'm jealous now.
Now you want one.
I do want to hire a designer.
You can afford it. Maybe my designer can come over to Charlotte.
Maybe. Does she live in your town? She lives in
Asheville. Yeah, her name's Hillary Holmes.
Okay.
Little shout out to Hillary.
Yeah, go Hillary.
Yeah, Hilly Tree Design.
And then did she actually come to the office and set the stuff up?
Yeah, she did. So she came to my office twice. The first time is kind of like the consult, right? So she walks in the office and it's empty, and she kind of gives her own, like, what she thinks she might do. And then between the consult date and then the install date. That's what it's called. So like install is the actual staging of everything. So in between those two dates is when she does all the shopping. And then on install day, she came and it was like fucking Christmas morning for me.
Everything's new.
Like, oh my God, everything is new. And I didn't
got
see
wrappers on it.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything's wrapped up. Not wrapped up like literally Christmas, but just,
That'd be epic though if she did that.
Oh my gosh, if she just
She'd
like
let you
delivered
open every individual succulent like in a gift bag.
But she only posted like on our shared Pinterest board some things. So there was still like tons of shit that I had never seen before.
That's cool.
I actually did a Facebook Live in the morning because I was like, this is insane. Like she's just like taking out individual things and then I get to just like unwrap the paper and be like, oh my God, I love it.
So cool.
So it took all day. Like install day is literally all day, but it was all her. So it was almost like watching someone do like a weird sculpture, like someone crafting a masterpiece. Like she would like move this candle 1/8 of an inch to the left and then like stand back and kind of look at it and then kind of move it like a little bit back.
Yeah,
so she did that whole thing. And seriously, it was so just like cool. Watching an artist do their thing. And I had no idea like how she knew where to put stuff, but she just has her own process. I guess every designer does, like their own way, how they would design it. But that was one of the things in our first conversation. She's like super nice and kind. And I remember this one point where she was like, so this is how this works. An install date's going to be like this. Oh, and I do all of my own installs. Like that's something I won't let you do. And I was like, all right. I took that as her saying like, I don't want you to fuck up all the shit that I bought for you.
That's exactly what it means. Put it in a weird, arrangement. And then she's putting her name on it, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
really cool.
The takeaways are save up for something like this.
Yeah.
Think about how to finance it yourself, finance it before the big purchase, save up, do it at an appropriate stage in your practice.
Yep.
Think about your ideal client along the way.
Totally.
Hire someone who's a professional if you can, or basically the takeaway is it's more attainable than maybe we think to hire a designer.
Totally.
And I'm sure there is another way of doing more, like a consultant on the front end, or having her just do one office, right, or something like that.
Or you could have someone just do like, I could have tried to do all this myself, and then maybe I just wanted her to do like one element, right? And I could have just said like, I have this wall and I really don't know what to do with it, so I'm thinking shelves with like cute little things on it, and maybe she could have just done that, and who knows, that could have cost like $50, right? But it's like beautiful and my clients look at it all day, so it's definitely worth it.
It could inspire the rest of your office and kind of set the tone. But I do think people coming into your office now will feel that it's done by a professional. Like even the way that things are hung behind you, it's like it's clearly spaced out to perfection.
There's like little 3D birds on my wall. Can you see that? These little ceramic swallows.
There you go.
Really cool.
So those are the takeaways.
Good
What
takeaways.
Other takeaways? Your office is your brand. Your couch is your brand. That your space informs how you feel, how your clients feel about how you feel about your business, right?
And know what you want to splurge on too, because you can easily splurge on everything. Important.
I think that therapist chair is a great example. Like we're spending a lot of our life. It's kind of like buying a mattress. Like you're spending
seriously,
a whole lot of your life
many
in that
hours
chair.
There.
So yeah, I think that's a nice thing. And I would even set a goal for it, right? So like set a metric, right? Whether it's like hitting a certain amount of revenue or just saving that amount, and like have it be symbolic, have it be like a celebration for something you've achieved in your practice, and reward yourself with that chair, because the money in itself or the paycheck in itself isn't necessarily always like, it's not a comprehensive reward, right? So you have to
seeing
treat
this every day
like an employee, at times, and set incentives and then grant yourself some of those incentives based on like really nailing a goal. But
I think we get so hung up on like the hustle of it all that we forget to like give ourselves a reward. And maybe you don't do a complete office redesign right now, but maybe you save up for a nice chair, or maybe you have your sights on some, like, I don't know, a clock with moving gears. That's pretty damn cool. So it doesn't have to be like all or nothing.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Rewarding ourselves is important.
What do you have going on right now and on the online world, and how can people get in touch with you or learn about what you do? Yeah,
so I'm about to enroll my 5th cohort for your Badass Therapy practice. It's my lucky number 5. So it's an 8-week, my flagship premium course that starts in August, and I'll start enrolling people in July. So I don't know. We're getting close to that, but it'll be towards the end of July. And we'll start in August. So that's what I've got going on right now.
Okay. How do
Super
people
pumped
find out about that?
They can get on the waiting list if they want. It's you just go to yourbadasstherapypractice.com and click courses, and you'll be taken right there.
Cool.
That's my one thing that I'm really focusing on right now.
Love it. Very cool. I'm inspired.
Thanks, yay!
I'm totally serious. I'm gonna have to have you on again real soon.
Yes.
Like real soon.
Totally, like as soon as possible.
Yeah, like almost immediately. So I will look forward to that moment.
Thanks, John.
Thanks again. See you soon.
All right, bye.
All right, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Do me a favor, click that subscribe button below and stay tuned for the next video coming up.